What's going on, everyone? In this video, it's going to be a little bit more different. I'm going to be pulling a question out of Reddit regarding a seller trying to sell to a buyer that they already have a pre-established relationship with, and they're questioning why they should pay for a 5% commissioner. So I'm going to give you guys the answer to this right now. Let's go ahead and pull this up. The title is Buyer's Agent Wants 5% Commission, which is posted 8 hours ago. So I haven't put my house on the market yet, but a friend of a friend asked to see the property before I do. He loved the house, which is the buyer. He loved the house. I told him that we would have more room for price negotiation if he didn't bring a realtor into it. So the issue is that the seller said that, there's room for negotiation if you don't bring a realtor into it. If you're a buyer and this is your first time buying a house, even if it's from your friend, and you feel like the seller says that, there's enough room for price negotiation, they want to buy your house, but they just don't know if it's actually a fair price. So they don't know what your room for negotiation really means. So that's where the realtor comes in. So the next day, he brings his realtor to look at the house a second time. Okay, that's fine. So the buyer comes in with the realtor. And now the seller is asking a simple question. In the next paragraph, the seller asked the question. So let's continue reading this. It's my understanding that if we both had realtors, it would be 3% each. So I'm not sure why this realtor should have 5% for a house he didn't find for a buyer I already knew and showed the house to. Can someone give me any insight on this? So to your very first statement, your understanding is that if you guys both had individual realtors, you guys would both pay 3% to each of them. That could be possible depending on what state you guys are at, depending on what the contract and terms are with the realtors, depending on what you guys both agree on. You can't automatically assume that it's going to be 3% each. A seller hires an agent, let's say in this case 5%. That realtor is going to use the 5% to sell the house on several other websites. We have no idea how this agent's going to market it, but they're going to use that 5% in order to sell your house. 1.5% would go to the buyer, 3.5% to the listing agent. You're going to get multiple offers from several different buyers, possibly people that aren't even in that state, but are willing to pay for that house at a much higher price than how much your original buyer was going to pay for. So when you're a seller, you actually are getting a lot more for your buck, or you might be getting a lot less. But when you hire an agent, it shows you that this is how competitive your house is worth compared to everyone else. When it comes down to getting the best bang for your buck, once you get multiple offers from everybody else, you can decide which offer you want to take. So if the original buyer was willing to pay, $100,000 for your house, and there's another person out of state that's willing to pay $200,000, I mean, would you be willing to give up basically 50% of how much you could have made to sell to the buyer? Or would you have that $100,000 less and work with the original buyer? The negotiations, it doesn't really make sense if you're getting a lot more money from somewhere else compared to if you were to get a little bit less for something that you didn't have a realtor for. So that's how it's typically divided. In this case, why is he paying 5% for the agent? It's so that that agent can be a dual agent and then represent the seller and also represent the buyer. The problem with being a dual agent is that in some states it's illegal. I'm assuming that this is a legal state to be doing dual agency. And if it is, then the problem that you have with this is that that agent has to be neutral. So that agent can't tell you that this buyer is actually willing to pay $50,000 more than how much you're willing to list it at. If you're the seller and you're working with that dual agent, he can't negotiate for either of you guys. Because if he does negotiate for one or the other, then he's being more biased towards different parties. And so in this case, if I was the seller, I would have definitely decided to save myself thousands, possibly tens of thousands of dollars just to hire another agent rather than using the same agent to facilitate for both. But since I'm a real estate agent, I would prefer to be the dual agent because, that's more money in my pocket for just basically passing around contracts. But if I was representing you as a seller, I would definitely try to let you know, hey, you could get a lot more money. You can get way more protection. You can get way more negotiations if you were to hire me as an individual to represent you only. And, in the contract, it could say, exclusively just to represent you. I don't want you to be a dual agent. Sign here. Good to go. So I'm not sure why this realtor should get 5% for a house he didn't find, for a buyer I already knew and showed the house to. So basically the seller is saying, I did all the work. Why am I paying you 5%? Here's the reason. So when the seller is trying to sell the house to this buyer, you have to really look at the buyer's perspective if you're selling the house, and you have to see why they're trying to bring in their realtor. The reason why they're bringing in a realtor is because as a consumer, you guys are protected because you guys aren't licensed. You guys didn't take an exam. You guys didn't go to school for it. And, you guys can play the, oh, I didn't know card. And that would definitely protect you because you're a consumer. You don't know. As a professional, anything were to happen, we can just say, you know what, the buyer didn't know. We knew. We're going to take full responsibility. And we're going to make sure that if the contracts are going to go through, they didn't know what they were signing. Our job is to make sure that you guys know exactly what you guys are signing and who we are protecting. So if you're a seller or if you are a buyer, you guys both have an agent or you guys are using the same agent. That agent's job is to make sure that you guys are both protected. So if you're a seller trying to sell this house and you don't want a realtor to be involved, that's kind of a gamble because let's say, for example, the buyer is actually using drug money to buy your house. And when you sell that house to the buyer that's using drug money, the state is going to ask, okay, where did this money come from? You're selling this house. All this cash came out of nowhere. So they're going to say that, you know what? This buyer and this seller is involved with fraudulent activity, which could mean, tax evasion, money laundering. When you don't have a realtor to prove, the buyer actually furnished a W-2, furnished a 1099, their K1, they did something to show that they actually earned that cash to buy your house. So that's kind of where you want to have an agent. So usually over in California, we use grant deeds, which is a special warranty deed that basically says that this deed is free and clear so that when the buyer comes in, the buyer comes in, they're asking, hey, can I buy this house? Is it actually yours? Is it, do you still have a mortgage? Do you have a second mortgage on the house? Is there a creditor or third party that's, trying to attack you for the house? Do you actually owe more on the house than how much you're listing it? So let's say your mortgage is way overdue. You owe, millions of dollars on the house when it's only being sold for $100,000. Then, the buyer's going to want to know that. The buyer's going to be like, wait, where did all these liens come from? So this is where the buyer is being smart and hiring a realtor just in case, because they don't know what's going to happen, and that the realtor actually helps out by protecting both you, the seller, and the buyer as well. So when you're paying for that 5% commission, you might say that, your house is worth X amount of dollars. You might say that you own the house, but when, a buyer's coming in and they don't actually know where this house is from, or who actually owns it, the best way is to have a realtor involved. That 5% commission, that's literally nothing compared to how much you are going to get when you get a peace of mind. So definitely I would look into finding a realtor, but again, that's all up to you. Hopefully you decide to use a realtor. Paying that 5% commission, you save yourself on a lot of paperwork, a lot of time, and you make your buyer, the one that you originally wanted to work with anyways, you make them feel more comfortable because they're the one that brought in the realtor, and you see the situation that's going on. You want to work with them. You're just the one that's not feeling comfortable using a realtor because you're not sure what type of situation this is. So I would definitely say use that realtor. I mean, if you guys are friends, then, try to work it out with them. Try to use that same realtor. The best protection is to have your own realtor, but I mean, if it makes you guys both happy, more power to you guys. Hopefully this video was, informative and sheds a little bit of light. My name's Anthony. So if you guys have any questions about real estate, definitely let me know. I will try to answer those questions for you. So hopefully you guys can help me out by liking and subscribing to my YouTube channel, or even going to the YouTube channel just to check it out. so that, you know, I can bring in some more professionals that can actually answer the questions that you guys have. So I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.